Hello everybody, welcome to our web seminar on BIM in Construction, Beyond Design. My name is Alistair Channons, I'm a Marketing Executive at Excitec. The bulk of the presentation today is going to be done by Steve Rudge, who's a Senior Consultant at Excitec. We've got over 110 people registered for this, that's great news. And this is in conjunction with a BIM end-to-end webinar that we did on Tuesday. This will follow on and make some sense to you all. Obviously, we're focusing on the construction stage.
Okay, thanks, Alistair. Okay, so like Alistair said, my name's Steve Rudge. I'm a Senior Consultant with Excitec, and I just want to show you today a flavour of where we're trying to get BIM, because I think for years now BIM has been focused a lot in the design space, and we need to show that we can actually take that information through the construction phase and ultimately to hand over and get the client to benefit from the BIM information as well. So just to give you a bit of background, I mean, Excitec, yeah, our first BIM project was in around 1997 on T5. It just wasn't called BIM then, it was called a Common Data Environment then, which is, you know, different, but it was BIM. And now we're coming over into the present day. We're looking to try and push against the level 3 area of BIM. We've got level 2 pretty much sewn up. That's where the government is trying to get to, and I'll explain all these different levels as we go through the webinar today. Okay, so hopefully we all now know what BIM is about. It is not software, so you can't just go and buy a box of Revit or something like that and say we are doing BIM. BIM is a process. Yeah, it's not about just using it on new builds. We can use it on all sorts of projects. It's about the process and the workflow that we actually put around the applications to provide the information through the life cycle of the project itself. And this is really, you've probably seen something like this many a times now, but for the last 5, 6, 7 years, it's really just been focused around this design space. So the likes of Revit and Bentley Solutions and Tekla and things like that are all providing information-rich models which people assumed was BIM. But it's actually about pushing the information through all parties of the project itself. So looking into the procurement stages, through construction, through facilities management, and even looking at the dismantling of the building once it's reached its life cycle. It's the whole picture that we're now trying to address and show that BIM will provide benefits in all these areas as we move forward. So, as we know, BIM in construction, yeah, I mean, over the last 2 or 3 years, it's taken huge leaps, really, in the industry, and one of the main drivers behind that is obviously the government strategy that's been issued in May last year. And their remit really is looking to try and reduce costs by 20%. And their means of doing that is really to push BIM, because they can see how it will benefit not just in the design space but through the construction space, and ultimately to hand over and manage of the projects going forward. So they're looking for a collaborated 3D BIM as a minimum on all projects. Now that's changed, because I think it started at 26 million and dropped to 5 million, but the latest strategy now is it's all projects by 2016. So that's obviously going to drive a lot of us into looking how we can provide our projects in a BIM compliant way that's going to be suitable to meet the standards specified by the government construction strategy. And what I'll do is, as we go through today, hopefully you'll see where the government can see benefits of pushing BIM, and where we can actually fit in our existing processes in through the construction space, and ultimately how the client themselves, who's going to own these buildings, can see how they're going to benefit from it as well. So what does BIM really mean? Well, it's really letting us see the building before it's actually built. I mean, that is the main advantage of it. We're trying to build this building twice now, once in BIM and once on site when we get there. So it's given us more certainty of the design, the build, the documentation that's going there. We know it's more accurate. The delivery is more accurate. We're getting reduced RFIs and TQs going on builds and things like that. because we're resolving a lot of the issues that normally happen on a site actually before in the design space and in the area that we're actually working in, rather than just letting things happen, letting things be interpreted off the 2D designs by the workforce on site, the contractor, and this is where the errors are coming in. So we're just trying to push this information that's ready available to us at the design space, but reuse it as a contractor and then push this information over the client to benefit it as we hand over the building at the end.